It's time for HawgSports Live from HawgSports.com, a division of 24/7 Sports, presented by Crain Automotive. The Crain Team's got 'em. Visit them online at crainteam.com. And now with the latest breaking updates on HawgSports, here's Trey Biddy.
What's up, everybody? Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HAWGsports.com. Back with you after a little spring break. Razorback football is back also. We're going to talk a little bit about basketball. We'll have Connor Goodson hop on because the transfer portal window, which is different than it's been in years past, opens on April 7th, so not too far away. We'll have to prep for that, and got plenty of football stuff to talk about as well. Yeah, all that and more on today's episode of HawgSports Live. The Crain Automotive Team has 16 locations across our state and is home to the Crain Commitment. You'll find Ford, Chevy, Buick, GMC, Hyundai, Kia, Volkswagen, and access to thousands of pre-owned vehicles. Vehicles for every lifestyle and every budget. Even if you're not in the market for a vehicle, the Crain Team Service Centers offer the latest in vehicle diagnostic technology and certified technicians to take care of your vehicle, get you back on the road. Check them out at crainteam.com. HawgSports Live is driven by the Crain Automotive Team.
You've done it. Now you're the Crain Cash Champ. You just won big with the Crain Team. Go ahead, soak it up. How could you not feel like a winner? You dominated with our low price guarantee, and you got way more for your trade. Plus, with statewide delivery on thousands of vehicles from 16 locations, and the fact that we'll beat any other dealer's price, we make our Kansans feel like champions every day. That's winning. That's the Crain Team. Visit crainteam.com.
Soak it up. How could you not feel like a winner? So, just a couple things here before we get going. I'm under the weather again. I don't know what's going on. I'm more brain foggy. So if I say something ridiculous, like I find like when I get up, I'm like a little woozy. So so much has happened since we've been on the show. I mean, if you go on spring break trips, you're either a kid or you've got kids, and I have kids. So we took a spring break trip. We went to New York City for several days and had a really good time. The last day that I was there, I started feeling a little bit off, and I ended up taking a Claritin, which I can't take allergy medicine because it just knocks me out. It just puts me to sleep. I'm one of the 1 out of 100 people that Claritin just knocks out. So anyway, that happened, but I just haven't been right, but I'm okay. But I'm just not 100%. My wife she went down the other day. I don't know what's going on, but I've never been as sick as I have so far this year. Like I went through a stretch of 6 or 7 years where I did not get sick a day. And I mean, allergies and everything. I didn't get sick. And lately I have been. So I guess maybe I need to reevaluate a few things, but we had a really good trip. Went and saw the Stranger Things deal. The first Shadow was really good. Saw Death Becomes Her. Went to a lot of great places. Went to some of Dave Portnoy's top spots, John's of Bleecker Street, Angelo's. Very close. I think Angelo's Coal Oven was a little bit better for me, just my personal. I think it's, if you like a more milder sauce or a more tangy sauce, I think maybe that's probably what it comes down to. Balthazar was fantastic. The restaurant there. Mama Two's Pizza was also really good. Had a really good time. Spent an entire day at the Museum of Natural History, separated from my wife and daughter, and I went and did my own thing for a day. It was really nice. A lot of shopping. Good time in New York. Interesting ride back. Our landing gear wouldn't go back in the plane. We had to turn around and go back to LaGuardia and got delayed 3 hours, but got back in time to watch some tournament stuff. Obviously, with Arkansas, disappointing way to end, but for almost everybody, it's going to be disappointing. There was a poster on our board who called the season a failure, and obviously a lot of downvotes to that. My response to that is always like, we always kind of knew this team, it would take something special happening for them to get past Arizona. Particularly the reason, with Arkansas, how they are down low in the post and stuff, just not a buddy of mine made a really good point the other day. He's like, you just need a 6'9", 260-pound bully like to bowl over people. Apparently that's what it takes to advance to the NCAA tournament. True. Although, man, that Duke-UConn game, I was watching that live, and I hurt myself. I'm not going to say how I hurt myself, but I slammed my legs together for some reason when he hit that shot and yelled out. But I heard a UConn fan tore his ACL. He was celebrating so much, jumping up and down. But that's what this tournament's all about. 4 Elite Eight games. 3 of them were, Iowa, Illinois was close for a while, but 3 of them were pretty uneventful. And then that Duke-UConn game, just UConn kept chipping away. And, of course, the discussion with just about everybody that I've talked to has been kind of the same. Like, did you want Hurley to lose more? Because nobody seems to really like Dan Hurley, or the Duke fan base to lose more. That's a tough one. Hurley's just kind of like one of these guys. For those listening, I'm just kind of wiggling my head a little bit like I got it all figured out, and you ain't nothing to me kind of. He's kind of got that, I don't know. Everybody knows what I'm talking about, just that cockiness about him. And I guess, he's won a couple national championships. Sure, maybe he has the rights to that. But, all, at the same time, seeing Duke get their hearts ripped out the way they were. And, maybe I'm also a little sick of the Boozer family legacy, entitled, basketball lore, Samsung commercial crap also. And all they had to do was hold the ball. I always say this about football. People say all the time that they didn't beat us, we beat ourselves. We shot ourselves in the foot. No, that's not what happened. What happened was you made a mistake, and they made you pay for it. The team that makes the other team pay for their mistakes the most is the team that usually wins in football. It's very true in basketball also. Duke made a mistake. They didn't have to pass the ball around. There's 10 seconds left. All they have to do is get fouled. Go to the free throw line. That's all they had to do. And, they couldn't get that right. And it cost them their tournament lives. So it's been a fun tournament so far. My bracket is, just like anybody else's. It's just unpredictable. There's 9 quintillion different ways to fill out a bracket. That's not a made-up number. That's the real number. It's actually a little bit more than that. But once we get into the quintillions, like, who cares? I could say 29 quintillion. Doesn't matter. So, anyway, I always say this about Arkansas basketball and anything. Like, did you enjoy the season? Did you enjoy watching maybe the most talented player that's ever come through here? At least the most talented guy since Joe Johnson? Did you enjoy watching him win SEC Player of the Year? Did you enjoy watching 28 wins? Did you enjoy watching winning the SEC Tournament Championship? I did. I had a really fun time this season. There were some disappointments, obviously. You'd like to see a little more presence in the post. Malik Ewan came along, obviously, but you've got to have, and I've always felt like, you got to have Elton Brand, Corliss Williamson, one of these 6'8", and Corliss, I know, is not 6'7" as listed, but you got to have one of these just bully types down low to make a run in the tournament. And, Arkansas just didn't have that. So will they get it next year? The transfer portal opens April 7th. This is what's crazy. Like last year, 2 years ago, 2024, Selection Sunday, and the transfer portal opens, I think, the next day, and it's 45 days. And then last year, it's like right around the Final Four, I think, and it was 30 days. This year, it's 2 weeks. It's a shorter window, and it's the day after the national championship game. So, kind of like Ryan Silverfield always says, the transfer, the calendar is different every single year. So it's going to be interesting to see how they cram this. We've got a ton of coverage coming up not coming up. Connor's already started putting it out there. He's got some nice information from yesterday. We've got our transfer portal tracker, our threads, all that kind of stuff you can follow over at HawgSports. We'll have Connor on here in just a little bit. But right now you got UConn, Illinois, Arizona, and Michigan in the Final Four. Illinois, this is according to Bet Saracen, by the way, Illinois is favored over UConn, and I believe Michigan's favored over Arizona. We'll get into that a little bit more here when Connor comes. Obviously, real quick, disappointing with baseball. We'll have Kevin Bohannon. Kevin's had some family concerns, issues, but he's back with us now. But I want to get him a little settled in before we bring him back on the show. But Florida obviously beating Arkansas in 3 games, 9-4, 7-4, and 7-6. Suddenly Arkansas has lost 4 of its last 5. And they've got a game against Missouri State on Tuesday in Springfield, Missouri. That's at 6 o'clock. That'll be on ESPN Plus. And then a 3-game series at Auburn, number 18 Auburn. That is on ESPN2 on Thursday, and then SEC Network Plus on Friday, and SEC Network Plus on Saturday. Those game times are 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 2 o'clock, respectively. So, New York, by the way, like I know the subway system now. I think this is my 6th time to go to New York, but I've got the subway system down pat. It's, once you figure that out, like the whole city opens up to you. And I always say, like, I love visiting New York. I would never live there. By the time you're like, I was ready to go at the end. One of the funny things that happened, I get back to my hotel the day that I separated and went to the Museum of Natural History, and my daughter gets in. And she goes, and I go, give me some candy. And she's like, what? And I go, I know you went to that sweetest bonbon candy store. I want some candy. And she goes, you're like a kid. She's 13. And I go, no, I'm not. And she goes, you went and looked at dinosaurs today. I was like, okay, touche. I still want some candy. Then I get a call from my wife. My wife goes into this place, this thrift store over near the hotel where we're staying at. We're at the Upper West Side. She gives her bag. Pardon the story. We're not all sports, but she gives her backpack in. They make you give your backpack when you go into the store so people don't steal stuff. Gives her backpack, goes in and looks, just deciding over a shirt to get. Maybe should I get it? Maybe not. Yeah, I think I'll get it. So she decides to get it. She goes back and grabs her bag. She goes over to the other area to the counter to pay. She unzips her bag and she reaches into her and grabs her wallet, which is light suddenly, and she had several $100s in there. And she turns and looks over at the girl at the bag check, and the girl at the bag check's like this, looking at her, like probably watching her the whole time. She goes, you stole my money. She's like, no, I didn't. She goes, you stole my money. Yes, you did. And she's marching over there, and they're going back and forth. And she's like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, you stole my money. Give it back. Give it back to me now. And eventually she reaches down into a shelf behind the counter. She goes, oh, is this it? Folded up $100 bills. It must have fallen out. She takes it. My wife takes it back. She tells her how disappointed she is and all this stuff. And then she's kind of like shaking. She leaves. She calls me. We're not too far away from there. We're getting ready for dinner. We're going to go see the Stranger Things, or we're going to see Death Becomes Her. I can't remember. Death Becomes Her has too much singing in it for me, but Stranger Things was awesome. Anyway, we get ready. I go back down with her. We go into the place. Confront the girl at the counter and make sure she doesn't have anything else that Mary Linda has. And I tell her, shaking her down, I was like, we can call the cops. See how that goes over for you. Do you have cameras here? I talked to the owner who's in the place, tell her what happens and everything. We don't end up like doing anything with the police because that's going to be our whole evening if we do that. But we made sure that the owner knew what happened. We requested footage of everything and all this stuff. So anyway, as Duke of Pork points out, New York is actually pretty low crime rate. It has a bad reputation from the 70s, 80s, 90s, but since the turn of the century, it's actually pretty low. But I've actually, that event happened when we got everything back and everything. A few years ago when I was in New York, we were coming out of the theater and we're coming out of Aladdin. We took my daughter to see Aladdin, and we're coming out, and these guys just kind of descend on this woman, snatch her purse, and there's, I think, like 5 of them. And they are all dressed exactly the same, and they run in different directions. It's like planned out deal. But the crime rate's down, but I don't ever see crime in Fayetteville, really, I guess. So anyway, but we did have a really good time overall. Spent a lot of time. I don't know if I'll stay on the Upper West Side again, but it was quick access to the park and quick access to the museums and stuff. But we spent most of our time like in Soho and Greenwich and stuff like that. Chelsea. I always like going to Chelsea Market and stuff. Hey, I want to talk about this real quick. Connor, sorry, I got you on a little bit delay, but I touched on this a little bit. But the self-sustaining athletic department thing. And I've been pretty, critical of Arkansas's boastfulness. It sounds prideful, like we're one of only, fewer than 20 athletic departments that are self-sustaining. Like, what does it matter if your football team's 2-10? Like, why are you being prideful about that? And I got an interesting kind of response. So as we know, the $15 million resolution that was passed, a couple months ago, it's 3-pronged deal, $5 million for the athletic department to raise within itself. Basically, the athletic department gets to stop paying rent to the university, which was $4 million last year, especially $5 million this year. And then the third part was the university finding ways to inject $6 million into the athletic department. Okay. Come all the way around, the university figures out $3.4 million through different cuts, through basically transfer, like making the athletic department stop having to pay for the band. Now that's on the university. Transit on game day, now that's on the university. Not making them pay $75,000 for alcohol sales, or no, not alcohol sales, alcohol education training. Stuff like that. And they figured out $3.4 million. So they don't get to the $6 million. So I'm looking at the math. I'm looking at all the other universities and stuff out there. And okay, $77 student athletics fee for 34,000 students. That'll make up the difference. Boom, you're at $6 million. Easy. Come to find out, and then there's, some lawmaker stuff like that, people, concerned about taxpayers having to pay this amount and this amount and stuff. Who I don't really know exactly what's going on. University football programs never taken taxpayer dollars ever. So I don't even know what they're talking about with that. Plus all these other schools do this, student athletics fee. But the reason that people with the university, Hunter Yurachek, don't want to charge a student athletics fee is because once they do that, once they lose that self-sustaining tag, they've got to get approval for things. Like if they want to spend $25,000 because they need some new weight room equipment, instead of something that would take 20, minutes, it might take weeks to get done because somebody outside the athletic department got to sign off on that. It's the contract and grant disclosure policy guidelines. You can see basically anything that's equal to or more than $25,000. So it could cause a bit of a hang. So say you wanted to spend $100,000 because you needed, some kind of new revolutionary equipment, device, something or other. It's no longer like decided within the athletic department. Somebody else has got to review that and say, is this the best, way to spend our money and stuff like that. So I get that. I get that aspect of it. And they think that they can make up for that missing $2.6 million through fundraising and maybe some other measures that are being discussed that I've heard about that aren't necessarily ready to be out there. So that is an interesting angle because I've been critical, and I think a lot of other people, have been critical, like, self-sustaining, and I get that angle of it. But when you think about it that way, that is actually an interesting, part of it. However, there are schools all over, that, and I've named the schools that are doing it. South Carolina's one. Several of your peers are doing that same deal. Now, maybe for the university, they feel like it's better, this way. What I do know about things like where they are right now is that finances are in a much better situation than they ever were under Sam Pittman, dramatically better. Like they just didn't have much money, basically. They just didn't have a lot of money outside of when they finally did get the $20.5 million for revenue sharing, which $14.5 million, I think, went to football. But they've got a lot more money in terms of like everything from, inside, and there's more coming. There's more things that are coming that will be announced and discussed from what I'm told. But some of the stuff that I'm told about is like we're not ready for that to get out. So, but there is some positive stuff coming. So, okay. Connor Goodson is going to join us here on the Ozarks Go hotline. If you're looking for fast, consistent, reliable internet service, check out our friends over at Ozarks Go, ozarksgo.net/hawg. That's HAWG, or you can go to 479-684-4900. Give them a call where you'll talk to somebody local because it's a local company. You're not going to get shipped off to some call center. So you say, hey, are you guys available in this area? They're going to know the area you're talking about because they're from here. So the best thing I can always say about these guys is I've never unplugged my router, and that is the God's honest truth. I have never unplugged that router and plugged it back in again. And I've been with them for over 4 years, I guess. I mean, since I've been in this house, I can't even remember how long I've been in this house, since 2021. So maybe longer than that. I've never unplugged my router. It's just always worked. So no outages. Pretty good deal, Connor. What do you think about that? Like,
wish I could say the same.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be clear, Connor does not have Ozarks Go.
Yeah.
So Connor, because it's not available in his area as of now, maybe one day. Connor, you've been traveling all over the world, well, on the West Coast, following this basketball team. What are your overall assessment of the, I mean, as quick as you can make it, over the 2025-26 Razorback basketball season and their postseason run?
Yeah, well, I kind of dabbled in a longer form video of this right after the loss to Arizona from San Jose, where I kind of went in detail on my thoughts. So I'll keep it brief, but incredible season. It was an incredible journey. I think that, in my opinion, it's one of the best seasons in program history. It's up there. I'm not saying it is the best. There's obviously a lot other seasons where Arkansas got closer to a championship, but I think it's got to be up there. I mean, you do something that you hadn't done in 26 years and win the SEC championship. I know that importance, differs greatly between a lot of different people in the fan base, but I think it means a lot to me personally, and I put a lot of stock into that. And then you have one of the greatest players, or one of the best players, I think, that has ever come through here talent-wise, in Darius Acuff. Disappointing, yes, that they didn't, get further than the Sweet 16. It did end in the same spot that it did last year, but I think that the way it ended and the journey and what they accomplished, it ranks a lot higher, and I think you can feel a little bit better about where the program is foundation-wise going into the offseason.
Yeah, I think they ran into the eventual national champs, which they've done several times over the years. I think that's the main thing that happened. They ran into, and they didn't have, I mean, you can't shoot from three the way that Arkansas did and beat a team like Arizona when they go, 3 of 4 from three and just pound the ball inside. You're not going to beat Arizona like that. Yeah. So, but again, I always say, did you enjoy the season? And the answer is yes. And I do put value in the SEC basketball tournament. Like, I can understand, some of the ideas behind baseball and stuff because, saving your arms and all that kind of stuff. But for basketball, like when I was a kid, we turned on Jefferson Pilot Sports in school and watched the SEC basketball tournament. I mean, it was a big deal to us. I mean,
yep.
So to me, it is a big deal. And the last time that Arkansas won it, they had to win it. They had no choice but to win it, or they were their season was going to end. Now, it ended in the first round later, but they had no choice but to win. This year, they didn't have to win. They could have not won and probably still been at worst a 5 seed if they just got bounced in the first game. But they were not going to be better than a 4 seed even after winning one game. So that to me says something too about the season that they had. We got to watch Acuff and all that stuff. I mean, that was. I think this will be a season in so many seasons that are easy to forget. I find myself forgetting things, that have happened recently because the turnover has been so quick. I don't know that I'll forget this one. I don't know that I'll forget this season.
No, my thoughts are the exact same. It'll be a season that people will talk about 20 years from now. And if Cal doesn't accomplish anything else in his tenure, I mean, which I'm not saying that he will or won't, but like if he doesn't, people like we said, people are still going to talk about this season and what they accomplished and what it was like to watch Darius Acuff play live because he's an incredible talent. And so it's definitely a success. But that said, there still is work to do, and you kind of understand now what it takes to really compete with those contenders, the Arizonas, the Floridas, the Dukes, teams like that. And so you kind of go into that offseason knowing what you got to do to get to that next level.
Get some bodies down low.
Get some grown men.
Yeah. Larry Johnson said it best. Of course, I would take Oliver Miller. He was pretty grown.
Yeah.
On that team. So how's your bracket look? My bracket is Duke, Houston, Arizona, Virginia, with Arizona beating Duke for the national championship. So
I'd entered my bracket in like 3 different pay contests. I think our HawgSports one, and then and then I had a couple friend brackets that I did, friend group brackets, challenges that I did, and I was in second place in the friend group ones all the way up until this last weekend, and it just went went to hell, because I had
Yeah.
Iowa State, I had Houston also, and that just completely blew it up. So we are officially on fire. I think that I might have Arizona. Yeah, I still got Arizona alive, and I still have UConn alive. But yeah, it's not. I did not do great this year at all.
All right. Well, that's over.
Yeah.
On to next year.
Yeah.
The transfer portal opens April 7th.
Mhm.
This is a very important one, obviously. It is a small window. It is 2 weeks of madness. If it's anything like football was, which if it's anything like football, like I hope you're still with us next year. Danny, I think Danny about put him out with football, especially because there were so many players. But it's not going to be that crazy because there's not as many players, but it's going to be very eventful and exciting. For those who don't know, 2024 Selection Sunday, it was the day after Selection Sunday when the portal opened. It was a 45-day window. That's to enter, not to leave, but to enter. Last year in 2025, it opened the Monday after the first weekend of the NCAA tournament and lasted 30 days. Again, to enter, not just get out of. This year, it's been pushed back again. It's April 7th, and it's going to last 2 weeks. So it'll close on April 21st. So you can't enter the transfer portal after that, but you can still, it's not like football where it's like you're up against it with trying to get enrolled and all that stuff. So it could, in theory, extend past that. But as far as entering the transfer portal, you have until April 21st, from April 7th to April 21st. What can we expect? Connor, you had a post last night kind of detailing some of the things that we can expect with this, what they're looking for, really.
Yeah, and so the portal does close in April 21st, but that doesn't mean that you can stop adding players and stuff. That's just when people can stop entering. And then, of course, if you have a coaching change or things like that, people have the window that they can enter in after that. But so this thing is going to probably drag out towards the end of April, maybe even to May, with people finalizing the roster. But the good news is we have John Calipari running this transfer portal, because if it was an Eric Musselman portal cycle that was 2 weeks long, you're right, I wouldn't be here, because it's just a completely different vibe, and the way that Musselman went about it compared to Cal, it's completely, totally different.
Musselman used to contact, for those who don't remember, Musselman would contact everybody that hit the portal.
Yep.
So just to throw everybody off.
Yep.
It's just a different. Cal doesn't really have to do that. Musselman, Musselman was a really hard worker.
Yes.
But Cal, he just draws people.
Yeah. And there was maybe 200 people that he would contact just within the early going. And then with Cal, you might get 40 the entire cycle. So there's also Cal's going to focus on retention, and he's going to want to get guys back, the DJ Wagners, the Billy Richmond, Isaiah Seeley's another guy that I would expect to come back. He's going to prioritize getting those guys back and make sure that he has that solid foundation of returning production. I've been told I don't want to share too much of what was in this update. There's a lot, but Malik Ewan needs a waiver to play next season. There's been some back and forth.
He's got a JUCO year, right?
Yeah.
He spent a year in JUCO.
He needs to apply for a waiver, so it's not guaranteed that he's going to get the season. But
should get it, though.
He should, yes. And there's some back and forth. Did the staff want to bring him back? Did they not throughout the season? He finishes strong. So you can pretty much see the writing on the wall that they want to bring him back. Also, this portal cycle, there's probably not going to be as many high-end big men as there have been in the past. Just the talent level is going to be down a little bit because you don't have that big window. People are focusing on retention. The finances aren't probably what they used to be in a lot of cases. So you're not going to see as many top-end talent. So when you can get a high-level contributor like Ewan to stay, a big man like that, then obviously you're going to prioritize getting him back.
Why is that, Connor? Because Calipari said that. He was talking about some people may not have the same money that they had. Is it just because this is the production they got, and these are the results, and they don't see reason to go out and spend BYU spending as much money as they did on one guy? Is that what it is? What are your thoughts on what he meant by that?
I definitely think that's he meant that there's not a lot of some people don't see a big return on their investment. I think that some coaches feel that they don't need to spend that much to get what you look at Kentucky. I'm not saying that he was calling out Kentucky, but I'm not saying he wasn't. But you look at what they accomplished this season and the ride that they went on. Is that worth dishing out $22 million again for something like that? You're probably going to see a lot of programs kind of not overcorrect, but they're going to try to course correct to where they're like, okay, this is not, we don't need to just give this guy $5 million because he's wanting $5 million. Like we need to have, I think you're seeing guys around the country look at this and be like, okay, this is a little ridiculous. It may not be worth the squeeze. The juice isn't worth the squeeze in some cases, I think. And then also you see where this money's coming from. Is the juice worth the squeeze there? And in a lot of cases, it's probably not if you're not getting a good return on your investment. So there's a lot of different factors. Also getting some of these things approved through the clearinghouse or the what is it called? The NIL
Deloitte.
Yeah. Getting that through that. Could there be issues doing some of these big time deals to get them through there? You never know with what's going to come up, and there's just a bunch of different factors going into it. And Calipari said he's not going to be extorted. He doesn't want to get in a bidding war, and I think that other coaches around the country don't want to get involved in that either. So that could be another example.
They want to hold on to their jobs though and win. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out exactly. Someone's
going to step up and someone's going to pay someone an absurd amount of money, and you're going to be like, why? And there's going to be like, questions about why they would do that. And then they're going to get, hounded all season when they don't meet expectations. There's going to be someone that does that. And there's going to be a Kentucky next year where you're like, these people paid $20 million for a first round exit. There's going to be that. But I don't think that Arkansas is going to be that team because Calipari doesn't want to build his roster like that.
Yeah. Well, some great information on this post on the Razor's Edge Premium Forum. Won't go into too much more of it, but you do have some comments on Malik Thomas and Billy Richmond, Knox, Wagner, Malik Ewan, as we talked about him a little bit. So that's all there on the Razor's Edge Premium Forum that anybody can go check out with a VIP subscription over at HawgSports. So I was looking at the NCAA tournament on Bet Saracen, Connor. And
have they released
right
the
now
for those games yet?
Do what?
Have they released the lines for those games yet?
Yes. Okay. Yes, they have. And right now, Illinois is favored by 2 over UConn. I'm not sure why that is exactly.
Wow.
I love UConn in that, actually.
Yeah.
And Michigan is -2 over Arizona.
Interesting.
And I love Arizona in that one.
Yeah.
And this is on Bet Saracen, Arkansas's #1 sports betting app. You can use the promo code BIDDY 250, capital B, lowercase IDDY 250. And if you spend $25 on your first bet when you sign up, you'll get $250 back in bonuses at Bet Saracen. So a heck of a deal. Go sign up. Check out our friends over at Bet Saracen.
Arkansas's Fab 5 for Bet Saracen.
Yo, Sid, what spread you checking out, man?
I'm checking out the Hogs on Bet Saracen.
Rainwater's exclusive specials and tons of Bet Saracen options make it Arkansas's favorite sports betting app.
And they take more action on the Hogs than any other sports book in the world.
Guys, I am confident it's because we do their TV ads.
I agree with that.
Amen.
Bet Saracen.
Connor, in 30 seconds for that ad running, and on Bet Saracen, it updates live the number that Illinois went from -2 to -1.
Wow.
I just moved the line.
You did. You have that power, man. That's crazy.
30 seconds. I moved the line. No, but check out our friends over at Bet Saracen. Connor, what do you think on that? What do you think on those 2 games? You with me?
I think I'm with you on that. I really like Arizona there. I like Dan Hurley as kind of the underdog going into that.
Dan Hurley.
Did you see him after the shot? How he got right up with the ref and just kind of like stared. They hit foreheads and he was just kind of like following the ref, like got in his face. Dude is a psycho. I love it, but he is a psycho. It is wild, and I don't think that any other coach in America could probably get away with what he did. But
that was an incredible game. I mean, it shouldn't have ever happened like that.
No.
Duke never should have passed the ball after inbounding it. What's interesting, Connor? I was watching over the weekend. I'm kind of feeling a little sick and stuff. I watched the entire 3-episode 30 for 30 on Celtics versus Lakers.
Oh,
and each of those are
good one.
over an hour. Like they're an hour and a half episodes. So I dove in. And one of the things in the 1984 series, I think it was game 1 or game 2 or something, but Riley had told Magic, hey, if he makes these 2 free throws, call timeout. Okay, it's at the end of the game. Call timeout. So he misses. I think he misses maybe both of them or misses the front end. I can't remember exactly, but he misses. And Magic rebounds it and calls timeout. Okay, there's like 12 seconds left on the clock. So instead of Magic, your best ball handler, and probably not the best but one of the best free throw shooters, having the ball in his hands, you call timeout, and now you have to inbounds the basketball. So they inbounds it. It gets stolen.
Mm-hmm.
Celtics up by 1. Lay-in, Celtics up by 1. Little mistakes like that and making your opponent pay. There's another example. I thought when I saw that, I immediately thought back to that game. It's like, yep, here's another example of a mistake that results in something like that happening. And that's what we saw. But that game will never be forgotten. I mean, before that, I think back to like 1992. I mean, I know there's been some great shots, great game-winning shots and stuff. And, like I can think back when Villanova, was it their first or second, they hit that 3 to win it and stuff. That's a great shot. But like just the events that transpired that led up to that,
UConn was 1 of 18 to start the game from 3.
Yeah.
Mullins hadn't hit a 3 the entire game. Like he even kind of said that he wasn't like confident in shooting that one. Like he was trying to pass it to Caravan to get it to someone else because he wasn't hitting. And so it comes back to him and he said, well, I gotta throw it up.
I didn't think it looked confident. I mean, I didn't think that there was a real, sink wrist, elbow sync up. It looked just kind of like,
and
like
his legs weren't square or anything. He kind of like, split it, put one behind the other, and it was like looked a little off balance. So it wasn't like he was in rhythm or anything. It's just, it's the magic of March, man. It's just, maybe if that game's played in the regular season at Madison Square Garden, probably clanks it. But, in March Madness, it's just something about this time of year, man.
It's amazing some of the clutch baskets that we see in this tournament. It's the greatest tournament in all of sports. There's no question. It's the great, and it's even better when Arkansas is doing some damage in it.
Yeah, Acuff against High Point, that's a game that I will go back and I will love to years from now rewatch the end of that game and just the high level shot making between him and Rob Martin. And then Acuff, goes on that 7-0 or that he scores like 7 points in a row, including that dagger 3. Just there's nothing better. There's nothing better in that atmosphere, in that environment. It's just, it's incredible. This tournament's amazing.
I feel like we just teased too much all your information, but I'll say one thing: 2 bigs and a shooter priority out of the transfer portal, right?
Yes, at least 2 bigs and a shooter.
Well, they're going to need a lot more than that.
Right. And
as priorities,
as priorities, they're retention, 2 bigs from the portal, 2 experienced bigs, a bruiser 5, and then maybe more of a stretch 4. And then shooter, maybe he could be on the wing, guard, but they just are going to look for somebody who can stroke it from outside. So that, and then I think you're kind of looking at a pretty solid foundation of 9 guys. Maybe you move some guys around. Does Malik Thomas, he's got a big decision to make. Does he even entertain coming back and maybe jumping into the lottery of next year, since it's such a weak draft class compared to this year? There's a lot of different things that can happen that can change the complexion of this roster. It's very, very early. I just kind of wanted to, with this initial update, lay the groundwork of where some guys, I was getting reads on where their mind was at, what the feeling was initially. And then, these next few days we'll probably dive into some of the names that are already out there, guys that Arkansas could, really target, and then names that maybe aren't, confirmed to jump into the transfer portal, but names that maybe Arkansas has ties to that could possibly, and we'll dive into that and have a lot of fun updates in there. And I also just added an update on Billy Richmond too, if y'all want to go check that out. It's maybe fitting off another team from down south, but plenty of updates. We're going to hit the ground running. It's going to be a fun few weeks.
All right, follow along with us as we paint the picture for you with Connor Goodson of Arkansas basketball roster building. Some of my favorite times is this time of year. All right, Connor, appreciate you, bud.
Thanks, Trey.
All right. Wrong button. Follow Connor at Connor Goodson on X and read his content at HawgSports, HawgSports.com. The voice is holding up okay. I'm just like super – I knew when I was on the plane and we took off and my ear wouldn't pop. I was like, oh, God, something's happening. I'm getting sick. I'm getting better. I'm on the upswing. I'm just surprised at, like, when I get moving around how foggy my brain gets. But sitting so far has been okay. Okay. We get to a few questions. Let me tell you about my friends over at Blakeman's Fine Jewelry, by the way, and Mother's Day is coming up. So if you're looking for a gift for your mother, your mother-in-law, your wife, the mother of your kids, check out Blakeman's Fine Jewelry. You can go to their brand new store at 3202 Pinnacle Hills Parkway in Rogers, Arkansas, 72758. But you can also shop them online if you're not in Northwest Arkansas. Check them out online. Got an amazing selection, not just jewelry, but homeware and all kinds of stuff from like David Yurman. Plenty of really cool things. And also, they offer delivery, so that's very important to know. So you can go online, you can shop online, you can set up an appointment online, and if you do shop and purchase something online, you can have it delivered as well. Built on tradition since 1987, Blakeman's has been Northwest Arkansas's trusted destination for exceptional jewelry and personalized service. Again, visit them at their brand new location, 3202 Pinnacle Hills Parkway in Rogers. What kind of questions we got? Raw Hog says, how many practices does it normally take for you to get a feel for the team and their talent? It's different every year. Obviously, back in the day when you only had no transfers or a couple or a few transfers, it was a lot less time. Now, I mean, I'm still not swimming. I mean, I know everybody's name, everybody's position, and I've written out 3 different depth charts based on how they came out on days 1, 2, and 3. So I know everybody, but I would say it's going to take – I mean, I've watched one, and we got, 16 periods on, Thursday before spring break of them in full pads, and so that was good to see. But it's going to take some, like, live tackle, some scrimmage work and stuff like that for me to be like, okay, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is where I'm still undecided on. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm still – very, very concerned. I'll say very concerned about quarterback. I don't know what they have at quarterback. I know, we've seen some from KJ. I just, until I see him, lighting things up in a game and like just throwing darts and stuff, I don't feel comfortable with that position just yet. And that's the most important position on the field, most important position in all of sports. So that is a big concern for me. I mean, I don't have any doubt that they have a more expensive roster than they've had in the past. I do like some of the guys. Like today we spoke to Joker Johnson and Kamori House, 2 of the higher rated guys that they got out of the transfer portal. Both guys that I think have a chance to be really good. We've seen Joker pretty much start every practice at one of the corner spots, and Kamori House has kind of been rotating in a little bit with the first and second group at the nickel spot, which I like that he can play nickel. You got a bigger nickel over there versus what he would have been kind of a smaller linebacker like he played at North Carolina. So I think that there is a lot of potential with this roster. And I really mean that. Like, I see a lot of good bodies on defense, a lot of good body types, guys with experience. I worry a little bit about safety, which I guess is nothing new, but I do worry about safety. Potentially linebacker, but I also think that there's potential at linebacker as well. Maybe Ben Bogle's really, really good, and I have got a feeling about Phoenix Jackson for some reason. I mean, just based on video that I've watched of him. So, in defensive line, they've got a lot of potential there too. the main thing I wonder about is quarterback. I wonder about running back. Like, do they have a stud back there? Do they have a really good quarterback? You got to have a really good quarterback if you're Arkansas. Because, we can talk about the roster that they've put together. And again, it is a more expensive roster than they've had at Arkansas at any time under Sam Pittman. I'm not saying you can combine the rosters, but maybe the last couple of years you could. I wonder about that quarterback. That quarterback spot. So I need to see him scrimmage. I need to see live tackle practice. Arnold Zilver says, what type of offense can we expect? Power running, quick hitting, passing, or a combination? I think you're going to see a lot of screen. Based on what I've seen so far, screens to the backs, screens to the wide receivers, quarterback run off the screen, like kind of this stuff. A lot of that kind of stuff. You can expect to see a lot of that. I think you're going to see power run game. Obviously, you'll see some zone too, but more and more teams are incorporating more power run. I don't really have a great feel for the run game just yet, mainly because they just did the 1 day in full pads, haven't done live tackle. So I need to really focus in on running backs when they start doing more, more hitting, more at least thudding and stuff like that. But they'll have some tempo also, and they'll slow it down. I mean, teams have largely, not exclusively, but largely gotten away from that just go as fast as humanly possible. They've kind of started operating with more tempo in terms of defining what the tempo should be. Like sometimes they'll go fast, sometimes they'll go slow. Catch you off guard by going fast, slow it down. Which I'm glad to see football has kind of gone more that direction. I was never a fan of let's line up as fast as humanly possible and not allow you to make a play on, a call on defense. But they'll also do stuff like where they, have a certain personnel grouping out there and shift to another personnel grouping. So they want to have some guys that like running back and, tight end and wide receiver, that can kind of move around a little bit and maybe do different things. Like one of the things that Cramsey said was the defensive coordinator will make a call, and then at 15-second mark, they might shift into a whole nother looking formation and then put it on, the onus on the linebacker or whoever's making the call on defense to then make a judgment call on their own without the coach's, input, because it shuts off, the earpiece shuts off at 15 seconds. Boy named Woo. Your gut feeling, better run game or passing game next year? And will we be able to score TDs in the red zone? I really don't know. I have mentioned that I have some concern at quarterback, and I don't know who the running back is going to be. Braylon Russell looks good right now physically. Is Jasper Parker, is he going to be a stud? I would say right now, run game. I think run game. I think they've got more guys that have been around the block a little bit. Now, they don't have a 1,000-yard rusher coming back. But with Sutton Smith, he's got a lot of experience. Braylon's got a lot of experience. Jasper Parker is very highly regarded back. Cam Settles could be a guy that surprises a lot of people. He looks like he's put on some really good weight also in the last year, and I know the last staff was really high on him. So I'm going to say run game, I think. We'll be able to score in the red zone. I just don't know yet. I wish I knew the answer to that, boy. Razor Hog says, do you expect C.J. Brown to have a lesser role this year? Only because I think that they've got some talent at wide receiver. Talking with Kamori and Jaheim Johnson, they really like Chris Marshall, which is good to hear. I mean, what did we expect? The guy was at one point the number 25 ranked overall prospect in the country. We would expect him to be really good. My voice is starting to challenge me a little bit, so not too much longer. But CJ, yeah, he'll still have a big role. Hopefully Jaylen Brown will too. I mean, Jaylen Brown's got a lot of potential. Ismail Cece is a guy that a lot of people don't talk about. He was actually brought up today. But I actually asked the defense, or no, I didn't. Hutch asked him. I asked about which quarterback should have, but Hutch followed up with wide receivers that stood out. And Ismail Cece was a guy that I think House mentioned. House talked more about, kind of the slot guys, and Jaheen talked about more guys on the outside, but House was brought up. CJ was brought up. Jaheim Johnson brought up C.J. Brown and Chris Marshall. I think those are the only two that he brought up. And then House brought up C.C. I think he also brought up Marshall. And Prevost, Dwayne Prevost, the freshman, he actually brought him up. So do you expect C.J. Brown to have a lesser role this year? What have we seen from Crutchfield and Jordan? I mean, I've seen Jordan, lined up out there. He's a big body guy. I have not seen anything that's like, and I've actually seen a little more of that from Crutchfield. Now with Jordan, maybe that stands out a little. I don't remember seeing him with the pads on, so maybe that jumps out a little bit more when the pads are on. But Crutchfield has actually looked pretty good out there to me. He looks like a different, like you can tell that he's changed some things with his body. Last year he came in out of shape and just wasn't a factor from the get-go, but he normally lines up right behind Chris Marshall, and not quite as big as Marshall is, but good looking body, good looking wide receiver, moves quick, catches the ball well. I could see him definitely having a role this year. Is there any players that you see right now that would surprise everyone, kind of like Mike Washington did last year, that will surprise everyone? Trying to think, because some of the guys that came in, like you expect Chris Marshall to look the way he looks. Surprise. So the freshman offensive lineman at left tackle. Sorry, I guess that should be just popping in my head by now, and it's not. Left tackle, Josiah Clemens, potentially. Now, I don't think that Josiah is going to end up. I mean, he could, man. He looks really good. He's just, guys, I get enamored with guys that are huge, like, Shaq McCroy, but Shaq never really learned everything he needed to learn to get into the lineup. But Clemens is, coming from Memphis, so he's in the offense last year. He is all of 6'7", I think he's 330, something like that. He was 370 last year. He's a good-looking kid. Possibly him. I'm trying to think of guys that weren't just like outrageously rated. Like, as I mentioned with Chris Marshall, we expected him to look, a certain way. We expect A.J. Hill to be, big. And, A.J. Hill and KJ are both listed, I think, at 6'4", but Hill is taller. He is. Cam Settles maybe could be a guy. Cam is at 5'11", 207 now. Cam Settles potentially. Donovan Faupel, he's a guy that's, I don't know if I'm like, whoa. Like last year, I'm not lying. Like last year, day one of practice, Rohan Jones and Mike Washington both, when I saw them, and I'm just going station to station, I'm like, man, a good-looking kid right there. Like, he's bigger than I thought, all this kind of stuff, faster than I thought, for both of them. I don't know if there's a guy like that is just like, oh, this is a hidden gem. And maybe it's just because the last staff kind of had to go find hidden gems more. Maybe that's why. But I'm just going down the list of my projected depth chart, which you can find at HawgSports. Davion Witherspoon I just don't know that he's going to be big enough. I know he was all MAC last year, but he's shorter than I am, and I am about 6'1.5" in my 48 years age, and he's shorter than me. He's backup left guard, but he was a guy that I was kind of watching, because he was an all MAC guy last year. I mean, that's not nothing, obviously. Malachi Breland looks really good. He's at left guard. And, he was a 2-year starter last year at Memphis. Does he count as a guy? I guess maybe he would, because Mike Washington was a starter. Rohan Jones was a starter at a small school. So maybe Breland, Clemens, those offensive linemen coming from there. We wouldn't expect any of those defensive linemen. because they were all pretty well regarded coming out of high school. Maybe not as transfers because they hadn't all done a lot yet, but maybe Phoenix Jackson. I don't know. For some reason, I got a feeling about Phoenix. I don't know what that is, but there's something about him that I just kind of jumps out to me. Christian Harrison. I don't know if that's fair either. I mean, he was a starter at Cincinnati last year. So sorry. I'm trying to force myself to find that next Mike Washington and Rohan Jones, and I don't. But I think I've kind of made a good point to myself just in my thought process that maybe it's because, last year they kind of had to go for guys like that maybe were a little bit more obscure versus, going out and finding maybe guys that are a little bit more well-known. I lost my spot. So I got to go back and find the message board thread here real quick. My voice is starting to go a little bit. Where are we at? Okay, here we are. Questions. Will he be Hardigan? Yes, will he be Hardigan? How many UFC fighters would it take to defeat one silverback gorilla in a fight? So when I went to the Museum of Natural History, there was, they had a gorilla and a diorama. They had grizzly bears in a diorama. I think I'm still going with the silverback. I'm not I'll tell you what, the Alaskan brown bear, I think I would take that guy. The Alaska brown bear is so much bigger than the grizzly, at least in that diorama that they had. Of course, he's also standing up like this. So I think I'm still going. I just think if a gorilla, a chimpanzee would beat the crap out of any human alive. I don't care who it is. The mountain, a chimp's beating him. A gorilla, it would take how many men do you think versus one gorilla? How many men do you think would it take to beat up a gorilla? And I'm just talking fists here. I think it would take over 10. I really do. Those things are so strong and big, just so powerful. We have some interesting questions. But how many UFC fighters would it take to beat one silverback gorilla? I am probably going UFC fighters. They're trained. 7. It just takes one punch, and it's not like, oh, that was a massive blow. Let's see how, your face is broken. Your teeth are knocked out. It's it's over. It's over with one punch, Oh, he's got him grappled. Boom. Back's broken. One punch. It doesn't take much. So I don't know how many people it would take him to beat down until he got completely exhausted, I guess. Because it doesn't matter. You're not going to just grapple a gorilla. You're not going to hoist Gracie some gorilla down and, get some chokehold on him. He's just going to tear you apart, tear your arm off. Winning 2 football games in the last 15 months is probably why you keep getting 6 as big scores. It may be. I don't know what's going on. Again, and when I say never, I used to have allergies, and then I don't know, probably 10 years ago, my allergies just went away. I just stopped having seasonal allergies. It was fantastic. I'd had them my whole life. And don't come after me, dairy industry, but I'd decrease the amount of dairy I was doing and stuff, and, just kind of trying different, elimination diets and stuff like that. Eventually my allergies just went away. I was I didn't have allergies this year. The next year, I was I didn't have allergies. What's going on? And I have them right now. This is from Porks and Wells. I guess it's like Orson Welles. In Ryan Silverfield's first spring, what's the clearest schematic change you're seeing on offense and defense compared with last season, and which position groups look most affected by the new systems? That is a tough question so far for these few practices. But I will go back to one of the things that really jumps out to me so much is the amount of screen game that we're seeing. Tunnel screens, screens to the backs, just every kind of screen you can imagine, and then playing off of those screens also. That has been a major point. Now, we have not seen anything close to the full offense. We've seen, they're installing different segments of the offense. And I guess that this is an important part. Now, if you go back and look at Memphis's offenses the past few years versus Arkansas had, I think, 65, Memphis had 65 catches by running backs last year. I think Arkansas had 35 catches. I believe it was the year before that they had 82 catches by running backs. You're going to see running backs very heavily involved in the passing game, and that hasn't been something that you've seen at Arkansas. Defense is more difficult. They have some different terminology, but Arkansas has basically been under Travis Williams a 4-2-5 defense. They would mix some things in, odd fronts here and there. They did some mint stuff, which everybody's doing, which Ron Roberts really innovated. But you're going to see a lot of that, that tight front, a lot of that. So zero tech nose, 4-eye defensive ends or defensive tackles, whatever you want to call it. Off, the smaller guy be over here. You're opposite him. You're going to see a jack, which is a hybrid linebacker, defensive end, a guy that can really get after the quarterback. Charlie Collins will be in that role. Jamonte Waller, Steven Souls will be in that role. That is a pass rushing, edge rushing guy. Their nickel they call the star. They've got Christian Harrison there. They've got Kamori House. Kamori House is, a bit bigger guy to be playing that position. He's more linebacker than nickel, but they really love the way, or more linebacker than safety, but they really love the way he can cover. So that's going to be a big difference primarily from what we've seen with the hybrid odd front, the tight front that, they just didn't run that same look as much. In the secondary, you've got what they call a free safety and a weak safety. You've always heard strong safety, free safety, or you've heard field safety, boundary safety, those kind of terms, but they call it a free and a weak. So we got to look into that a little bit more. And then I think they'll just have left and right cornerbacks. And that's as far as like just the structure of the defense, how much blitzing they do, still to be determined and stuff. But there's a lot of people, when Ron Roberts was first coming into my view, it was actually Keith Grayson that brought him up to me first. Keith is a big fan of Ron Roberts, and Keith, who comes on the show from time to time, but he's a big fan of Ron Roberts, and and the defense that Ron runs, and how that's been adopted by so many different coaches. In fact, talking with Darren Wilson today, just about Pete Golding at Ole Miss is a Ron Roberts disciple. Kirby Smart talks about incorporating all those philosophies in the defense at Georgia. Dave Aranda, the head coach at Baylor, is a Ron Roberts disciple. So there's a lot of other coaches, coordinators in the NFL, that coach under Ron Roberts and stuff, and just talking about how innovative he is, how smart, how good a teacher he is, how good he is at explaining things. So hopefully that transcends. Looking back at Florida, Florida's offense was terrible. They started off really strong on defense, and I think just your coach is fired. Things just kind of let go. When that kind of stuff happens. So, yeah, but at the same time, like, you can't just run that type. That was created to stop these hurry up, zone offenses. It doesn't work as good against power. You have to be versatile. You have to have players that can move around. Like Kamori House, you may have to, play linebacker. You may have to play safety. As things shift around and stuff. So I think versatility will be important for them. something to continue to watch as the spring continues on. Hope that answers your questions. Next question, besides quarterback, what is the most important battle to track this spring going into summer, fall, and who helped themselves the most so far? It's a difficult one because there's so many position battles. It's a good question. It's just that there are so many. Like, it's hard to say, well, this is the most important over that. But I think wide receiver is really intriguing with so many new faces there and so many guys back. I think that's a really intriguing area to watch. I think offensive line could be fairly well settled. I'm going to keep my eye on the left tackle job. Broussard, Terrence Robertson, and Clemens. I mean, those three guys at that spot I think is really intriguing. Running back is an interesting one. They're going to need all those guys, but I mean, I think there's the opportunity for a guy like Cam Settles to really make a name there potentially. For Braylon Russell, like how much better is his weight loss going to? And Braylon looks really good. Like I like the way he's looking right now. His stomach's flat. He's still got, the big thighs and everything, big butt, like the weight's where you want it to be, with Braylon. So, interested to see how he looks, but that's an important position too. That running back's going to be very involved, in the offense, not just running the ball, but also catching the ball. Defensively, safety would be intriguing. I mean, you need somebody to step up and say, like, yeah, I'm the guy here. And like, oh man, they found a real gem there at safety, because that was one area where I looked at and I'm like, man, I know that they were targeting these certain guys and they didn't get any of them, not that the guys that they got, Stoutmeyer could be a good player for them and some of the others. Third question from Porks and Wells. How does the OLDL look in your opinion? Do the Hogs have a shot at controlling the line of scrimmage? I didn't tell you about our friends over at Walker Brothers. I need to tell you about those guys real quick before we get out of here. But Walker Brothers, the finest men's clothing from around the world, carefully selected, last, fit right, and help you look your best. From game day essentials to distinguished luxury wear. They've actually got a sale rack. So it was cold in New York, so I stopped over by Walker Brothers, and there was a really nice coat. And it was like $600 coat, nice, longer, kind of down to my knees. But New York, it was going to be like every day is like 40 something degrees in New York. And that's, it feels even colder there because, it's also overcast. So I wanted, go by there, see if there's anything that jumped out, a little warmer weather stuff, to me. And I go by there and they had a 70% sale rack. So I got this jacket for, under $200. That is a jacket that I will have forever. Like, so that was pretty cool. So if you're looking for some stuff I'm talking like they've got stuff that is like, they've got some stuff that's reasonably priced, they've got some really good quality stuff that's reasonably priced. They've got some stuff that is super high end, like Italian, whatever, nice stuff. And I'm talking like some suits and stuff that are normally, several $1,000s for 70% off and stuff. So, of course, they've got all their, spring and summer stuff out there too. Biore, Horns Legend. What is it? I'm trying to think of the hoodie that I like so much. And I just bought, I did buy that too. I bought a new, I'm a sucker for quarter zips. I like a quarter zip. And, I have too many black quarter zips, but I just keep buying them. And I just saw this one and I liked it. It was, what is that? Is it Johnny? It's got a little kind of surfboard. It goes in the back right here. I don't know. I can't remember, but they got a lot of nice stuff. Johnny O. That's what it is. And of course, Peter Millar, like if you're into golf like I am, Peter Millar's got some of the nicest golf equipment. I really like also Shoes is another nice brand. Almost bought a Shoes jacket. I was just kind of between sizes on that one, but really, really nice looking. It's I'm not sure where Shoes is, but it's like KSUCH, something like that. So it's pronounced Shoes. Anyway, check out our buddies over at Walker Brothers, where they have a brand new location, 3503 South 55th Street, Suite 101 in Rogers, or 577 Millsap Road, Suite number 6 in Fayetteville. Big Razorback supporters, good people. All right. I think we've done everything here. I may, if I'm feeling better tomorrow, I may try to go out to Back Nine Golf in Fayetteville also. If you haven't checked out Back Nine in Fayetteville, you can go to theback9golf.com and scroll over Arkansas, and Fayetteville's the only location. They got 4 simulators, 4 hitting bays, including a VIP section with a bar and tables, TVs everywhere, and all the simulators, massage chairs, BYOB, BYO, whatever. Bring your own drinks. You can check out you can book a free demo on there. Go online, book a free demo. But I do know that they are capping the number of members, and it has been a pretty impressive response so far. So if you want to get in on that deal, then check out the Back Nine Golf in Fayetteville. Go to theback9golf.com. Buddy of mine opened that place. Want to make sure we help him out where we can. I've been up there over 20 times. Like, you probably see me up there if you go up there. So, all right. Appreciate everybody for joining us. Appreciate Connor Goodson for hopping on, sharing a little bit of insight about what's coming up with the portal. Appreciate all you guys for your questions. Thanks for bearing with me while we've been gone on spring break, and we'll be back on a normal schedule. The show will run on Mondays, but due to 12:15 press conferences, it's going to be later like it is today throughout spring football. And then when Thursday rolls around, we'll be at normal time. We'll be at noon on Thursdays still. So we'll probably throw in a little walk and talk coming up soon. You know, walk and talk during the spring is just kind of on feel like, it feels like a walk and talk kind of day. So be on the lookout. It's probably going to pop up at some point. All right, everybody. Appreciate you for joining me. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. We'll catch you next time.